They say curiosity kills the cat. Well, I'm here to tell you that the dark web has damaged me beyond belief, and I can confidently say that I wish my diagnosis were the least of my concerns. But what actually happened makes my symptoms feel like a cakewalk. It all started during my entire senior year, brushing dark web secrets aside for my thesis. Most threads led to dead ends, crypto scams, fake hitmen, illegal marketplaces, the usual, the mundane reality of human greed. But this forum existed deeper than anything I'd found before, requiring 3 additional proxy jumps just to load the page. True enlightenment through sound, the title claimed. A string of comments filled the thread, each user describing the same audio file and its effects, which I couldn't be bothered with. My cursor hovered over the most recent post. A user called Voidwalker13 wrote, "The frequency opened something in my mind. The ringing never stops, but the sounds are real." Their account went dark minutes after posting. Every comment asked what happened next, but Voidwalker13 never replied. "You're going to burn out before graduation," my friend Laura said, leaning against my desk, her bracelets clinking against my coffee mug. The sound echoed in my quiet dorm room. I rubbed my eyes and pointed at my screen. "This thread is different. Look at the encryption level, the user patterns. It's perfect for my thesis," I said. "Michelle, you've been saying that for weeks." Laura's eyes narrowed as she read over my shoulder. A message popped up in my inbox. Someone had noticed me tracking the posts and offered the original audio file. The sender's username appeared in characters my computer couldn't display. "Just promise you won't do anything stupid," Laura said. She squeezed my shoulder and headed for the door. My fingers flew across the keyboard as I set up a secure virtual machine. The file arrived at 3 a.m, with a name and symbols I'd never seen. Every security scan came back clean. Laura's warning echoed in my head as I plugged in my noise-cancelling headphones. The forum said the frequency only worked with complete audio isolation. My thesis needed a conclusion, and this would have to be it. I pressed play. The sound was so low I had to check my volume settings. A resonance built beneath the silence. Not quite music, not quite noise. The pitch climbed higher, scraping against my skull. My vision blurred as the frequency burrowed deeper. I ripped off my headphones, but the sound lingered. A high-pitched ring settled into my ears, pulsing with my heartbeat. Just the aftermath of loud audio, I told myself, and that it would fade. The forum had gone offline and would remain that way. My screen displayed only an error message and a string of those strange symbols, burning after images into my vision. The ringing grew louder. In the sudden silence of my room, something metallic creaked beneath the static. The ringing persisted through breakfast. I pushed my cereal around the bowl, each clink of the spoon piercing my skull. "You look like death. Have you slept?" Laura said as she grabbed her keys from the counter. I forced a smile and shook my head. "Working on thesis revisions. I'll bring you coffee after my shift." She paused at the door, her forehead creased. "Text me if you need anything." I sent 3 messages to Laura over the next 8 hours, but got no response. The wall of static in my ears made it hard to focus on anything else. My cursor blinked over a blank document as I tried to write about the forum, but the words blurred together. A metallic screech cut through the ringing, the sound of rusted hinges or something being cranked. I yanked out my earbuds, but they weren't plugged into anything. My phone lit up with a message from an unknown number. "The frequency finds those who need to hear." I blocked the number and buried myself in research. References to enlightenment through sound flooded these dark web forums, but everything led to dead ends. and deleted accounts. The ringing changed pitch as the sun set. A grinding noise wove through the static, like metal scraping against metal. My laptop speakers crackled with interference. My stomach growled, which reminded me to check in on Laura. "Can we grab dinner?" I typed before setting my phone down. The message showed as delivered but unread. Her last active status was 16 hours ago. My phone buzzed, and I yanked it, ready to eat. But another unknown number popped up with a message that said, "Listen closer." The grinding sound intensified in my head. Under the mechanical noise, something else pushed through the static. A voice, distant and muffled. The words were unclear, but the tone. I slammed my laptop shut, and the voice cut off, but the ringing remained. It lived inside my head, a constant reminder of my mistake. The next day, 3 more messages to Laura went unanswered. So I contacted her roommate, who said she hadn't seen her since the day before. When I visited the campus coffee shop, her co-worker said she never showed up for her afternoon shift. "Probably just sleeping off a hangover," her co-worker said with a shrug. But Laura never missed work, and never went this long without responding. The metallic sounds grew sharper as night fell, each new noise distinct. The click of locks, the rattle of chains, the slow turn of rusted gears. And beneath it all, that voice, closer than before. Someone was screaming. The ringing was becoming unbearable. So I decided to visit my doctor. The audiologist's office smelled like disinfectant and old magazines. I sat in the padded chair while Dr. Mendez studied my intake forms. "Ringing started 5 days ago?" she asked, peering over her glasses at me. I nodded. Static hummed in my ears, punctuated by a rhythmic clicking sound that had started that morning. "Any exposure to loud noises before onset?" Dr. Mendez typed into her computer. "Just my headphones. A single audio file." She led me into the testing booth, a tiny room with foam-padded walls, and a window where she'd monitor my responses. "Raise your hand when you hear a tone," she said through the intercom. The first few beeps came through clearly, then the ringing intensified. A mechanical whirring cut through the test tones, followed by the distinct sound of metal sliding against metal. I raised my hand, but Dr. Mendez's face showed confusion as she stated she hadn't played a tone. The equipment crackled with interference. Through the booth's window, I watched her frown at her monitor. She adjusted some settings, and the speakers screeched. A voice pushed through the static, distant, muffled, pleading. "Ms. Torres?" Dr. Mendez's voice came through garbled. "Are you okay?" I ripped off the headphones. The ringing remained, but the voice retreated beneath the static. "Your readings are unusual." She studied the printouts on her desk. The interference pattern suggests external input, but there's no source. Perhaps it's tinnitus, but I'd like to do more testing to confirm. My phone buzzed. Another undelivered message from Laura. "I'd like to refer you to a specialist," Dr. Mendez said, writing on her prescription pad, "and perhaps consider anxiety medication. Stress can manifest in unusual ways." The clicking sound returned, becoming sharper, like something being wound tight. I rolled my eyes and stood, cursing myself for even thinking a doctor wouldn't write me off as just stressed. "It's not stress, but thanks for your time anyway," I said. I spent the rest of the afternoon in the campus library. My student ID granted me after-hours access to the medical section, where columns of computers cast blue light across empty study tables. The ringing subsided among the stacks of books, muffled by decades of medical journals. My laptop displayed page after page of tinnitus research, case studies, treatment options. Nothing matched what I experienced. Normal tinnitus didn't include mechanical sounds or voices. A new tab showed the Darkweb forum's last cached version, Other users described a similar progression. First the ringing, then mechanical sounds, then the library's fluorescent lights flickered. My laptop screen filled with static, symbols dancing at the edges. That clicking sound returned, like a ratchet being wound. Books crashed to the floor 3 aisles over. My phone lit up with an incoming call, Laura's number. The signal bars disappeared before I could answer. The mechanical sounds grew louder. Metal scraped against metal. Chains rattled in the distance. I slammed my laptop shut and ran for the exit. The sounds followed, building to a crescendo, and beneath the static, someone screamed. Sleep proved impossible that night. My dorm room walls pulsed with shadows at 3 a.m. The ringing never stopped, but the darkness brought new sounds, clearer sounds. The mechanical whirring started low, like distant machinery. Each new noise distinct. The click of locks, the grind of gears, the slow turn of a crank. My phone displayed another missed call from Laura's number. I pressed my palms against my ears, but the sounds writhed inside my head. The voice pushed through again, familiar yet distorted and warped. The words were almost clear enough to understand. My laptop pinged with a new email. The Darkweb forum had resurfaced, displaying a single message. The frequency finds those who need to listen. The ringing shifted pitch, and metal groaned against concrete. Something heavy dragged across a floor. My phone lit up with Laura's contact photo. Static burst from the speaker when I answered. Through the white noise, someone sobbed. The mechanical sounds built to a symphony of agony, each device clear in its purpose, each sound marking time until dawn. And beneath it all, Laura's voice screamed for help. The library basement provided the only relief from the ringing. Surrounded by concrete walls and dusty books, the static dulled to a whisper. I spread my research across an empty study table. Printouts of forum posts, medical records, sound wave analysis. A pattern emerged in the user's final messages. Each described the same progression: ringing, mechanical sounds, voices, then silence. My phone lit up with another message from Laura's number. 5 texts, all undelivered. The signal bars disappeared whenever I tried to call her. The scrape of chair legs against tile made me jump. A man sat at my table, his white hair wild and unkempt. Scars traced his temples beneath his hairline. "It's not in your head," he rasped, eyes fixed on my papers. I pulled the documents closer and looked around. "Who are you?" "Jack Morrison." He pushed a notebook across the table. "And those sounds in your head? They're not what you think they are." The notebook pages overflowed with technical diagrams. Wave patterns matched the ones from my own analysis, but his notes went deeper. Coordinates, signal strengths. The ringing spiked, and a mechanical whine cut through the static. Jack tapped the diagrams. The screams pushed through again, a voice begging, the words muffled by distance or walls. "Well then, what is it?" I asked, my hands shaking as I flipped through his notes. Jack's expression tightened. "The frequency acts like a receiver, but..." The library lights flickered. Static burst from my phone speaker, and the mechanical sounds grew louder. The distinct click of a ratchet, the grinding of gears. Jack grabbed his notebook and stood. "Find the source before..." He vanished between the flickering fluorescent lights, and a cold weight sank to my stomach. I ran from the library, his notebook clutched to my chest. The ringing followed, but something changed in the static. The voice sounded closer, familiar. Back in my room, panting and frantic, I spread Jack's notes across my desk. Coordinates mapped across the city, signal strengths charted over time, and in the margins a single repeated phrase: "The frequency finds those who need to hear." The screaming started again. I had to find Laura, so I rushed to her place. police tape blocked Laura's apartment door. Her roommate Nina stood in the hallway, arms wrapped around herself. The police found her car at the train station. Empty, Nina said, voice cracking. The ringing in my ears built to a crescendo. Metal scraped against metal, and chains rattled through the static. I pulled Jack's notebook from my bag. Did Laura ever mention anyone following her? Strange messages? Nina shook her head. She went to work 3 weeks ago and never came home. Fear flushed my body with an unwelcome warmth and numbness. The mechanical sounds twisted into something new. The slow grind of a crank turning, a winch straining under weight. My phone buzzed with another message from an unknown number. A string of numbers and letters, coordinates. They matched a set in Jack's notes, circled in red ink. The screaming started again. The voice pushed through layers of static, desperate and familiar. Laura's voice. I stumbled down the apartment stairs, my vision blurring. It felt like a fever dream. The coordinates led to the industrial district. Old warehouses, abandoned storage units. The police incident report glowed on my phone screen. Officers' notes mentioned Laura's coffee shop name tag found in the train station parking lot. No security footage, no witnesses. A new sound cut through the ringing, the click of locks engaging, the squeal of rusted hinges. My laptop pinged with an email. The Darkweb forum had resurfaced, but the page displayed only one post, a single audio file, uploaded 3 weeks ago, the day Laura disappeared. I pressed play. Between a man's maniacal laughter and what sounded like a drill, Laura panted and wailed through strained vocal cords. Her pitch peaked, then shattered under wet gurgling when the drill ground into what I could only assume was her flesh and bone. When her screaming stopped, the device clattered to the ground, and what followed still haunts me to this day. Squelching. The sound of someone digging into her flesh, into her organs. I jammed the stop button and froze, unable to process what I'd just heard, unable to feel anything but searing rage. The ringing exploded into clarity. Every mechanical sound aligned with the recording, the same devices, the same timing, the same screams. Jack's notebook held the truth. The frequency didn't cause hallucinations, but created a connection, a live feed to somewhere. My best friend's voice echoed through the static, not a memory, not a recording, but Laura screamed again. The ringing led me through the city like a compass needle. Each turn amplified the mechanical sounds, the creak of pulleys, the grind of gears, the click of locks. Laura's voice grew stronger as I crossed into the industrial district. My laptop balanced on the passenger seat, tracking signal strength. Jack's notebook lay open beside it, his coordinates matching the Darkweb forum's data. Red circles marked 3 locations. The first 2 showed nothing but empty warehouses. Laura's screams changed pitch. The sound of metal scraping against concrete cut through the static. A new email appeared in my inbox. The forum had resurfaced again, displaying a single image. Laura's student ID card lay on rusty metal, her smile bright against dark stains. The ringing exploded into white noise. Through the static, machinery whirred to life. My hands gripped the steering wheel as Laura's voice broke. The mechanical sounds built to a crescendo, each device distinct in the chorus of pain. The third location pulsed on my screen, an abandoned storage complex at the edge of town. The signal strength peaked as I turned down the access road. I parked behind a rusted shipping container. The frequency throbbed in my skull, stronger than ever. Each sound crystal clear, the turn of a crank, the strain of chains, the rhythmic click of something winding tighter. Unit 13's door hung open at the end of the row. The smell reached me first, sweet and metallic. Laura screamed through the static one last time. Then the sound cut off, replaced by silence. The ringing in my ears faded to nothing as I stepped into the darkness. The storage unit door hung open against rusted hinges. My flashlight beam caught dust motes swirling in the dark, each particle dancing like static in the air. The ringing in my ears reached a fever pitch as I stepped inside. My foot hit something metal. A chain snaked across the concrete floor, disappearing into the shadows. The mechanical sounds in my head matched the devices scattered around the room. A winch bolted to the wall, a metal crank, rows of locks. The beam of light swept left. Laura's corpse lay like a rag doll, mouth gaping in an eternal silent scream, fingers gnarled as if she'd been clawing at her gashed throat, grasping for air. Her eyes had gone milky white, rolled back into her skull. A rusted electric meat slicer lay near her head. A wooden chair with nails protruding from it stood proudly in the corner of the room, a morbid glimpse into what she had endured. The room's devices were unspeakable. It was all too much, too real. The ringing fractured into silence. Cold reality rushed in as memories crashed through my head. Laura at breakfast, but her coffee cup had phased through the table. Laura in my room, but the mirror showed only my reflection. Laura's texts, all undelivered to a disconnected number. The truth lay in front of me, wrapped in chains and decay. My best friend hadn't been missing all these weeks. She'd been dead the entire time. The mechanical sounds made sense now. Every creak, every click, every scrape of metal. Echoes of her final hours burned into the frequency. The screaming in my head, her voice growing clearer as I got closer to this place. My phone lit up in the darkness. The forum displayed one final message. The frequency finds those who need to hear. The silence pressed in, heavy with truth. With a shaky hand and through blurry, stabbing tears, I dialed 911. Shortly after, sirens wailed in the distance as I sank to my knees beside what remained of my best friend. The ringing in my ears faded to nothing. The police station's fluorescent lights buzzed like static. Detective Morris read through my statement, her pen scratching against paper. Evidence photos spread across her desk. Laura's car, her student ID, the storage unit. "You tracked her phone?" she asked. The ringing pulsed in my ears. "No, a frequency led me there." She set down her pen. Frequency?" "From the dark web," I murmured. It connected to a live feed of... "Ms. Torres," Detective Morris said, leaning forward. "Your friend was killed weeks ago. The medical examiner confirmed it." The mechanical sounds crept back into the static. Clicks and whirs from devices the police had catalogued in their evidence logs. Then how could I hear her screaming? My hands shook as I pulled out Jack's notebook. These coordinates led straight to her. It was the frequency guiding me. "We've been investigating that frequency," Detective Morris said calmly, as she placed a photograph in front of me. Jack's body lay crumpled in the library basement, blood pooling around his head. Mr. Morrison was connected to 3 other murders. Detective Morris tapped the photo. All women who disappeared after visiting certain dark web forums. The ringing shifted. Laura's voice pushed through, distant but clear. "He kept recordings." Detective Morris opened a file on her computer. Audio files of his victims, the same sounds you described. Static filled my ears as understanding clicked into place. The frequency, the forum, Jack's research, a trap. But the voice in my head screamed a different truth. Laura's voice, leading me to her body. The mechanical sounds, matching every device found at the scene. The ringing built to a crescendo. Through the static, metal scraped against metal. A winch turned. Chains rattled. And somewhere in the city, another girl started screaming. The dark web forum vanished after Laura's funeral. My thesis notes became evidence in a cold case, filed away in a dusty police archive. Detective Morris closed Jack's investigation without answers. No suspects, no justice, just silence. My laptop sat open on my desk, cursor blinking over a blank document. The frequency file remained hidden in my secure drive, untouched. The ringing never returned after that night in the storage unit. A new message appeared in my inbox. An unknown sender. A familiar string of symbols in the subject line. My hands trembled as I clicked it open. A single audio file waited inside, 3 minutes long, the same frequency. My finger hovered over the play button. The silence in my ears ached with possibility. Somewhere in the static, another voice waited to be heard, another victim screaming to be found. But I pressed delete. The message vanished into digital nothing. My screen flickered once, symbols dancing at the edges like ghost images. A cold breath brushed my neck, carrying the faintest echo of machinery. Laura's voice whispered through the silence one last time. The frequency finds those who need to hear. I closed my laptop and let the quiet settle in. I couldn't do this again. In the distance, a phone rang, unanswered.